sink down and emotions feel like I never did before. Live shows and unspoken reels of the movie I ignored. Blue skies on a broken sea and I'm stuck up on the shore. I never thought you could see me, but you did. All I know is we're here, that they took us somewhere. So what they say we're called, falling out of line. They don't know the two of us are colorblind, yeah. All I know is we're here, that they took us somewhere. So what they say we're calling, falling out of line. They don't know the two of us are colorblind. All I know is we're here, that they took us somewhere. So what they say we're calling, falling out of line. They don't know the two of us are colorblind, yeah. So easy. We could be the enemy and show them how it's done. Yeah, we could brand a new identity and tear apart the songs, make it grayscale with a black and white scale. Singing saints that the sinners believe in, burn all that's in it. We'll take them out, out. We'll make them up for it and shout. Keep out the guns, I'll take the wheel. How we feel, we will make for this. Keep your mountains still, make it real, make it dangerous. Been colorblind for all my life, and they kept painting rainbows. I'm colorblind, it's black and white. It seems it will remain. And you've been colorblind for all your life. It's scared to even say so. We're colorblind, it's black and white. It seems it will remain so. So what they say we're called, falling out of line. They don't know the two of us are colorblind, yeah. All I know is we're here, that they took us somewhere. So what they say we're calling, falling out of line. They don't know the two of us are colorblind. All I know is we're here, that they took us somewhere. So what they say we're calling, falling out of line. They don't know the two of us.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I was a little bit. I quite nearly forgot to bring up the stream. Hi, Tater. How are you?
Oof.
I'm just getting my chat up.
Mm.
I usually put it on the same monitor that I have my camera on.
Doing great, Tater. Doing great. We've got a few things on for this. So, I mean, it's probably apparent just looking at all of us, but we are a guest list today. So we're going to be doing another of our standard SBH crew episodes where we talk about what we're playing lately and gaming news and such sort of things. Which there's actually, even though we did one of these last week, there's actually quite a few things. We do have more guests coming in the future. We are not yet ready to announce who those guests are or when they will be on. But those announcements will be coming soon, and then the associated sort of hype and publicity train that we tend to run before those will start.
Yeah, more or less.
So
We have a publicity train. That's exciting.
yes, yeah. we take it very seriously. We didn't before we had Walt on, and now that we had
do.
Walt on, and
Walt
he
has
generated
taught us-
like
he's-
2
he's
weeks of
told us
hype.
the-
He's-
he showed us the
He's
way
set
of the
the
hype.
bar, and like now
Yeah,
everyone
yeah.
has to follow it.
Yeah, Walt's like our he's like our marketing and branding ambassador, and he's responsible for handling that side of the organization. A job he doesn't know he has, and certainly won't get paid for, but he has nonetheless. So,
and if you're watching now, Walt, now you know.
I wanted to ask about what you've all been playing lately, and in particular, Trev, I wanted to hear about this mystery dungeon Pokemon thing that you were playing on stream. Tell us about that.
Please enlighten us.
I beat
And what
that
inspired you
in
to play
like
it?
5 days. Well, no, it took me like 20 hours, but it was a game that I played originally on the Game Boy Advanced. So like back in like 2005 or whatever. And I guess they remastered it, and like there was also one on the DS, but I didn't play that one. So it's like the DS one and the Game Boy one. And it's like the whole remastered story, and like I don't know what else they changed. I know they added some stuff, like later generation stuff, but the core of the game is still the same.
Yeah.
And that game is actually like harder than I thought it was gonna be. It's like there were points in time where I was like struggling on. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, this is a children's game. I was like, why am I
Well, now
dying
you
so
know, like,
much?
Nintendo games can actually be kind of hard. Like, Legend of Zelda can be kind of challenging. Even some of the Mario games can be pretty challenging. So yeah, welcome to Nintendo, where everybody thought they were baby games, but they're not.
I think that's where I got like
100%
this.
right. Nintendo games are very
Nintendo,
difficult.
I was like, oh, it's
Like,
fine.
There's lots of hard Legends of Zeldas, and I found those old Mario platformers like quite non-trivial as well. Yeah, they didn't mess around. In fact, actually, if you want to see how hard Nintendo games, try playing literally any NES game. Like, pick an NES game and try to
I've
beat
never
it.
actually. So I think the only other Nintendo stuff I've ever played besides like the Switch and the Wii was like the Super...
N64, GameCube.
No, well, I didn't own a GameCube, but it's the one where Duck Hunt came out on, like with the giant cartridges. Is that the
It's probably the I think
That
I
would have
think
been
the giant cartridges.
that you had to
I think
blow
you're probably
into,
referring
and
to
then
the
like you had
SNES.
to.
That one I think was on. I could be wrong. I think,
I think
it was
that's a
on
SNES game. Yeah.
Oh, was it? It was an
original
NES.
NES? I think so.
Oh, I thought I played it on the SNES, but I could be wrong.
Maybe.
It's a long time ago.
Do you know what's so interesting? I think, like, yeah, I guess there is a misconception that these games should be easier, but like, I'm just thinking about playing these Nintendo games like on a actual arcade cabinet.
Yeah.
Like, I went to one of those like barcades like last year, and tried to play Mario on one of those. It's freaking hard. Like,
Yeah.
Old school Mario is difficult. Like to time that
Yeah.
jump to like get the fly
Yeah.
down, it's just like what?
I didn't realize like I've never actually beaten one of these Mario games like ever.
Which, by the way, it was the NES, 1984. So.
Okay.
It was the NES. Okay, there you go. Yeah. And I mean, not only were they hard, but oftentimes those games were so old that like people don't realize how hard games are without modern checkpointing. Like modern checkpoints make games way easier to get through. Like old school checkpointing systems are generally pretty unforgiving.
Well, one of the things about those old games too is that, for one, I mean, because like what you said about checkpoints, like some games didn't have any saves at all.
Yeah.
Like whatsoever. So like you'd have
that'd
to.
be a nightmare for Rory. You couldn't quick save after every instance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So like you would have to.
spam.
So you'd have to keep the system in the game on like basically all day. Like if you had to leave, like as a kid, like if you had to go to school or something, you'd have to leave it on all night, leave it on all day, and then come back to be able to play it. Hopefully it's still on, and hopefully it's not. Well, usually they don't get busted. Those old things could get run over by a truck and they'd be fine.
Yeah.
You could use those cartridges as door stops. And
The
probably
only thing you needed to worry about was like blowing in the cartridge to make sure it was gonna work, which I don't think
Yeah.
did anything.
Like pretty much, like you could drop one of those, like an N64 cartridge, out of a 4-story window. It bounces on the ground like 18 times, gets run over by a truck, and even maybe goes into the local lake. You could pull it out and be like, I just blow, and it'll be fine. It's scuff marks all over it.
Have you guys ever played Dragon's Lair?
I have
heard that
never
name.
actually
I
played
didn't.
them,
Okay.
but
Do you guys know what that game is?
I
I
sure
know
do.
it, but I don't think
Okay.
I've ever played it.
It was it was actually created by Don Bluth.
Yeah, who does Anastasia?
He did the animation for A Land Before Time,
Mhm.
and like was it American Tail? I think he did.
American Tail, Anastasia.
Yeah, so he's like
Thumbelina.
obviously, like into like the cell animation thing. So this video game was, I think it might have been one of the first that used cell animation, like in the design of it. And so what it is like you follow like the knight. I forget what his name is, but you have to. It's basically just a series of QuickTime events that you have to like react with no prompts, no kind of indication on screen about what you should be doing. It's literally just animated scenes, and you have to react before the knight, like, so the knight can get through the door, has the dragon, cannot fall into the pit where like the spikes come up. You know, like it's like all of these like, but it like does not hold your hand at all. You literally just have to like literally play it hundreds of times before you can figure out. Like I tried playing that again like last year, and I didn't last more than like 10 seconds. And that's being generous. And like I think if you play through the entire thing correctly from start to finish, it's I want to say it's like 4 minutes.
Oh wow. Okay.
But
Yeah.
you have
You
to,
say it's
I
4
don't quote me on
minutes?
that. It's definitely under 10.
Oh,
That's
but the thing is if you miss, if you don't get the QuickTime event, if you don't press the right button, if you don't move in the right direction, it just automatically resets to the beginning.
Yeah, I see. Yeah. So yeah, those 4 minutes are jam packed with frame tight events that are really hard to. Like I honestly. Go ahead.
No.
I honestly think that I wonder, since Nintendo has a history genuinely of making a lot of their games actually really difficult, I honestly wonder if the reason people always joke or like sometimes seriously believe that Nintendo games are all easy is just because of the way they look.
Yeah, that kind of is
like,
the thing.
I wonder if that's what it
something
is.
to do with it. Because Nintendo's always been like the kid friendly and like let's appeal to like the younger audiences. So like that could disarm people into thinking that like, oh, this is meant for like toddlers and stuff. So it's like it should be no problem.
Well, because the reason why there's a lot of people now, like say like people who are like our age, you know, like between like 20s and 30s, you know, that at one point they're there's probably a lot of gamers now that probably are like, oh, well, you know, I play all these really hard games, and compared to Nintendo games, like obviously like Dark Souls and Bloodborne, like those kinds of games are, you know, wildly hard, right? And I think sometimes people just do that where they're like, oh, well, games used to be so easy for me. And the thing is, and like people have said like maybe they've just made like the new and improved Crash Bandicoot a bit harder. Like people are like, how did we get through this when we were kids? You know? And it's like, well, the thing is that it wasn't easier when you were a kid, you know? It's just that
same thought when I played in Kingdom Hearts. I was like, how the hell did I beat this as a kid?
See, that's what I used to think too, you know? And it's like, I mean, maybe we're not in that kid mindset anymore too, but like we probably, when we were younger and just don't remember how hard it actually was. The very first Legend of Zelda, like what Melly said, like about hand holding, games really like hold you by the hand. Like they like basically squeeze you so hard by the hand that it hurts. Now, like compared to like SNES and NES games.
Yeah.
Like the very first Legend of Zelda, they don't tell you shit. They don't tell you anything. You just go out the door and they're like, here you go do something. And that's pretty much it. Like you just go and you try to beat the game. And that's how a lot of those games were.
Oh, absolutely. A lot of PC shooters were like that back in the day. There was no hand-holding in Jedi Knight 2. You know what I mean? They didn't... You just... Like, you had, like, a general idea of where to go, maybe. It was like, here's a base. You probably want to enter the base. But, like, beyond that, it was like... People... Like, go back... People in the audience, go back and try to play the first level of Jedi Knight 2. Tell me if you get it done within 5 hours. Like, you won't. Spoiler alert. It's like even people who played it before, you know?
Well, wait, okay, so the question needs to be asked. Do you think that's more of a hand-holding problem, or is that like I don't know if narrative is the right term, but like, is that like a problem with like the limited resources they had that they could put in a game. Because like obviously now it's like Skyrim, you have quest markers and it's like, oh, you're supposed to go here. But like a game like that back then, like they wouldn't be able to obviously fit all those mechanics in.
You're saying if they were designed by the same people now with the resources we have, would they be the same?
Yeah.
Like, or would they be more? I honestly think part of the reason why games were so hard was because they didn't know how to make them. Like, to a certain extent, like, people had no sense. There were no established game design principles, you know? Like, and I don't mean that in, like, a bad way. I think some parts of that, some things that came out of that, like, Wild West for making games were great. You know, like we never would have got Thief today. You know what I mean?
Well, think of how innovative, like at the time, Pong was. You know?
Yeah, that was wild.
Like
that, wow, I can play this.
You know, people were like, "Wow, this is so cool! Like I can just move this stick up and down, and I can play with my little brother, and we can just like it's like table tennis, you know?" And it was. I mean, people like make fun of it now because they're like, oh wow, Pong, you know, like what is this Pong? But like back then, like that was innovative, you know, and we wouldn't have gotten some of our games like from those very first games, not to mention too, like Rory and I had been talking about this when I always bring up GDQ, I'm so sorry, but when we were watching GDQ, because there were a few people, like usually we just close the chat, but we did see a few people in the chats like talking about like, oh, these games are so dumb, they're so old, or old looking games too, like that are newer games that are meant to look like old games, where like people kind of like make fun of them and stuff like that. And the thing is that like we wouldn't have gotten to the games that we have now, you know, if we didn't have those games to start out with, you know.
Even the bad ones to a certain extent, like when someone made a bad game, which like I said, since there were no rules for making games, like it was tough to tell probably when some of them were actually going to be bad. But like when someone made a bad game, it was like, oh, like that doesn't work. You know what I mean? Like it was like a trial run for them to be like, oh, like that was like a bad idea. You know, like I remember in the original, in Metal Gear Solid.
You say that. Because it's like, I don't think a single game on PS1 I can think of where it's like someone was like, no, that was like a terrible game. Like every single game on that was just like...
Well, I think the reason is... Well, I think by the time PS1 came around, there was a lot of more established rules for like game difficulty and stuff, which was the big problem I think back in the NES is like, we don't know how hard to make this, like kind of thing. But I think also part of that is that the ones that we remember are the ones that like sort of stood the test of time. You know what I mean? Like we think of like Legacy of Kain and Final Fantasy VII and you know, Medieval and
even
Spyro
like
and stuff like that.
and Crash, like they've
Crash was another great one. But there was probably some like something that on the PS1 that was like too whack that we didn't even play it back then or something. You know, and we've just forgotten about it now.
I mean, I loved The Little Mermaid and The Little Mermaid 2.
Legacy of Kain. I had both of those.
I can remember being so excited because I actually still, well, I don't still own. I bought like a few years ago, The Little Mermaid on PS1 because it was a game that I loved when I was a little kid, and I can remember being absolutely terrified of the shark chasing after Ariel in the beginning, and like I can remember how proud I was the first time that I ever did that on my own without like being like, Mackie, can you come over and help me because I'm scared. And I bought it, and it didn't. Unfortunately, the disc didn't want to work, and I got super sad. And I found out that it was on the PlayStation 3 store for like $5, so I bought it. And I still think that it was a fine purchase. I beat it in like, I think under 2 hours, maybe even under an hour. But I loved it. But like, I definitely saw like, wow, this game is like, I hate using this word, but like it was rudimentary, you know? Like it was. Like, those are the kind of games that you can tell that are more so, like, maybe a little bit made for kids. But I loved it. Like, that was one of the games that I absolutely loved on PlayStation 1. But yeah, I was going to bring up something else. Like, I don't know, just, like, when it comes to these older games, like, I never like to just, like, full-on make fun of them and be like, oh, these games are bad. We need to, you know, not talk about them anymore. It's like, what? If we don't talk about them, then like where are we going to like find roots in gaming, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's what all of us were doing when we were little kids, is that, you know, we were playing. I mean, At least I was, like, because all my brothers wanted all the systems. And they wouldn't stop fighting over them, so there's that. But like playing, like, let me think, like Banjo-Kazooie. I mean, even Banjo-Kazooie was, like, it got harder, you know?
Yeah.
Crash Bandicoot got harder, Spyro got harder.
Even like Tetris, like back in the day, it was like
Yeah.
you progressed and it was like, oh, now you only start from here instead of starting from the bottom, and like you had to like
Yeah,
like time
Tetris was
trials
more
and
good.
stuff.
Yeah, and controls played a part too. Like Tater brings up how Legacy of Kain didn't age well, and I feel like part of that is controls. Like I feel like people don't realize, like, if you pick up a shooter now, and let's say you're playing on a controller, right? Like the dual analog motion, right, of like looking with the right stick, that didn't exist as like a standard. That was available in some games, but if you play a PS2 shooter, like some of them did not have look tied to the right stick. And it seems crazy now.
But yeah, think about how many games, like, you couldn't move the camera at all. Like, that was just a thing, you know? Where, like, that became a feature, you know? And what you said about, like, quest markers and stuff. I think what happens is that as the years go on, we innovate when it comes to gaming. And at one point, like, people were like, how can we make our games more accessible? You know, maybe that's why they actually do, like, because what you actually said before, Rory, about how they just didn't really know how to make games before, and now they're just better at it. Because now they just think, okay, well, how can we make these games more accessible? We can maybe have another camera that you can turn so we can see 3D, or maybe we have a quest marker so, you know, players know where they need to go instead of just walking around aimlessly until they find something that maybe looks like it should be the thing that they're trying to look for. So I think that's kind of like a big part of it, is that games are just made more accessible now, you know? Like, I'm sure there aren't a whole lot of games from like the 80s and 90s where they actually are like, okay, so here's the tutorial. Like, how many of the older games had actual tutorials, for one thing? Like, I can remember playing Kingdom Hearts 2, and they literally tell you how to walk forward. They're like, okay, walk forward. Yeah. Good. Now press this button so you can jump, and you can't go forward until you do it, so you're knowing how to play it. Versus some of those older games, they just throw you right into it and are like, good luck. Like, figure it out. You should know that this button is to go forward, you know?
Portal did that too, where it was like, there was an actual tutorial section where it's like, all right, you got them, like, now move forward, and then like, now move back, and then look up and down, and like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Portal's actually very good. Portal's one of the better games I've ever played at introducing its mechanics. So Melly, you've been The Witcher 1 is like, yeah, Witcher 2 is playable, not great, but playable. I agree with that. Witcher 1, like, if you've never played Witcher 1, try that. That's like
I did. I mean, I liked it.
Yeah. It's a good game, cool.
Yeah. It was different.
The menus are a nightmare.
Watching, like, I don't know if you've played or seen The Witcher 1 yet, Melly, because I know you have it, but like going from Witcher 3, where it's like this stoic kind of like gruff Geralt that definitely like has his own stances and looks great, you know, like as he looks like he's dancing sometimes, you know, right? Like as he's sword fighting, and then you see Witcher 1 where they have different stances that I actually have to push a button to go through. I'll never forget watching Geralt raise his sword up above his head and is just like kind of dancing around like that. I'll never forget it in my life. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
He's just practicing his stances, you know.
Maybe, you know.
So, Melly, you've been delving into what I think is one of the best looking games I've ever played, Dragon Age Inquisition. Lately, for quite a bit, you've sunk a fair number of hours into it. You have sort of a particular way that you play games, and maybe it might lead you in some interesting directions as far as, you know, how much you follow or don't follow certain quest lines, and I think that makes your playthrough kind of unique, you know, when it comes to like Western RPGs. And your perspective probably a little unique. So I'm genuinely, like, all jokes aside, I'm really curious, like, what you think about the game and whether this makes you want to go back and try like Origins or DA2.
Well,
I know she finally got what she wanted yesterday. I did see that before I went to bed. You were so excited.
Yeah, I also saw that. Yeah.
Colon, finally.
Yeah, finally. Well, I think, I mean, as like, you know, a fantasy RPG, it's like pretty much anything that I would want in that type of game. You know, there's like huge epic battle sequences. I really enjoy the party mechanics of the game, and it lets you, but the thing is, it's really kind of customizable, so it kind of lets you switch back and forth as much as you want to, or as little as you want to, which is kind of nice. It's kind of different than Final Fantasy VII, where you really can't. There are certain battles in that Final Fantasy VII that you absolutely cannot beat unless you're fully utilizing the party. And I feel like the way that they kind of let you auto-equip things, and this is really nice. So if you kind of get tired of, like, I've been playing my main character as a support character. If I kind of get tired of that, I can switch to like DPS, or I can switch to, you know, like ranged attack. So it's nice it's like it kind of gives you full control over all of that. Obviously, you know, I am enjoying like the romancing aspects of it. I think that's like always an interesting part of choice in games. And then there's like intricate like diplomatic missions that you also have to do where so there's just like it's so varied, and so the lore is so deep. It just really is such a I don't know, the world is just so vast. Like I'm constantly amazed at the depth of the world building in this game, but still managing to tell like a really interesting story that is connective with all of that lore. I don't know, it's just it's really fascinating. So
I'll be honest with you, I don't remember like much of that game when I played. Like I remember I did the whole story, I beat it, but like I don't remember. I don't remember that's because
all you remember is Liliana. That's all I know. I know.
Yeah, I know that much, and then like I know some key plot points, but I don't remember if like that was a time where I was skipping dialogue or not. So I don't remember if I know like.
All I know about Dragon Age is that everybody always asks me if I like Dragon Age Inquisition, or if I like Dragon Age because my because my username has Morgan in it. I'm like, nope, I don't even know who that is.
Yeah.
Which I'm very disappointed in myself that I did not immediately recognize Claudia Black was Morgan.
Oh yeah.
I initially was like, oh, like this woman's voice, and then the next day Ash said something about Claudia Black being in Dragon Age. I'm like, wait, what? And then she's like, that's Morgan. Granted, I only had like one like very short conversation with her.
Wish I had heard it. I probably would have known how many times I've played.
I mean, I love Claudia Black, so I was like even more excited to, you know. I do think she's doing a fantastic job in that game. So yeah, I mean, the cast.
I agree, but no offense, but how entitled do you feel saying that you love Claudia Black and still haven't watched Farscape?
No, I know. No, that's on the. I think we're doing a watch party for that, so it's
oh, really? Oh,
that's on the docket apparently.
I'm just giving you shit, but only because I know that I have a friend in that, Ash, and also giving you shit for not having seen it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's, you know, I don't know how much how like almost how close I've come to almost watching that. I was on Netflix back in the day when they used to mail in DVDs.
Oof. You just dated yourself. No, I don't think anyone else knew that. Except for like people who were there.
I added a season of Farscape to the queue, but I never actually got it.
I remember that too, actually. I remember when Netflix used to do the DVD thing. Also, hi Ray and hi Sai. How are you both today?
Sai. DVD Netflix, go hard.
I remember that. I never ordered from it.
Blockbuster used to try to like compete with Netflix because they had their own like version of it where like you could like rent it and then like watch it, and like I think you could get it mailed to you, but I don't remember. It was like their own like Netflix, and I was like, this is not gonna work out.
Okay, so Mel, I completely forgot about this, but I was actually gonna ask you because I've only had Boba once, and I accidentally swallowed whole one of the like one of the little things, and so you seem to be eating them, so you can eat them with me.
Yeah, it's what, tapioca, right?
I've done the same thing, Morgan. I think I did the same thing like my first time with bubble tea or something. Yeah.
The first time because Rory had some when we were in Toronto, and the first time like I was like, oh, can I try it? Because it was like taro, wasn't it? Wasn't it a taro one?
I don't even remember
That's not
having
having
bubble tea
taro.
when we were in Toronto.
I think it was taro, and I liked it because I was like, oh yeah,
Phrasing.
this tastes like one of the. Hi, Jonah.
Hey, Jonah,
one
how
of
are
the, I got one of the because I always get taro mochi whenever I go to OhioCon. I love it.
Crazy. What do you mean? Boba's just balls.
I'm trying to remember getting bubble tea when we were in Toronto. I don't remember at all.
Yeah, it was when we
it at
got
the mall?
crepes. Mm-hmm.
Oh yes, you're right. No, I remember it now because it was right next to the crepe place. Okay. Yeah.
I'll never forget it because I had it and I was like, "Can I take a sip?" And Rory's like, "Yeah, go ahead." And he just goes, "Be careful that you don't swallow one of them." And I had gone like literally the moment that he said that, I went,
Now I remember it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never
now I remember.
swallow. Never swallow the balls. Okay. Never.
No, I did hear a thing where like there was this one girl who was like, she was actually like just swallowing them instead of like chewing them, and apparently like she. Yes. I'm never gonna forget Ashley.
Death by Boba.
Yeah, but apparently she had like a bunch of them just like sitting in her stomach and they didn't like move. I was
You would
like,
think they would
oh my
digest.
God.
What?
Like,
Uh-huh.
it's edible food, so you would think it would just like digest.
It is, but I think like I don't know, I can't remember the story, but I think she had like not good ones is the thing.
Oh,
Yeah,
I thought,
the,
I thought you were gonna be like she had a weak stomach. I was like, yeah, like if you can't digest tapioca, that's.
I didn't know if you had any more Dragon Age questions, but I also have been playing another game, but I have not been streaming it, which has been Red Dead Online.
What was
Yes.
the?
Oh, you're back at that again. Okay.
What was the other game you were playing alongside? What you call it? You were playing Doom, right?
Yeah, I'm playing Doom 20.
Did you beat
Yeah,
that
yeah.
though, or
No, I think
Oh,
I'm
okay.
pretty close to the end.
I
That's
just
a good
remember
game.
the
Yeah.
one-
Well, yeah.
the one segment where you're trying to do that challenge and it took you like 2 hours or whatever?
It's not Doom.
It took me 1 hour. The other hour was just chatting. Okay.
So
Oh wait, the challenge. You're talking about the rune trial. Yeah.
Yeah.
That did take me 2 hours.
So you've been, because I always notice that like when you play like high fantasy games like these, like you really go all out with them, like because you played so much of The Witcher. Now you're like really getting into Dragon Age. Like do you think you'll like maybe make that like on a stream every once in a while, or for your stream every once in a while, just like playing one of those kind of games like Fable or like an Elder Scrolls or something?
Yeah, actually, I think I might have mentioned this last week, but I knew I wanted to play some kind of like high fantasy RPG for like my next game, and I was seriously considering either Skyrim, Fable, or Dragon Age, but I settled on Dragon Age for reasons. I'm sorry, Rory. Like, honestly, I feel like I just kicked a puppy. I'm so sorry. Just the look
No,
on your face.
here's the thing, right? Like in like defense of that decision, just so I can like come to Melly's aid here, just in case there's judgment. There's like Tater is obviously a huge Fable fan, and I'm a huge Elder Scrolls fan, and Ash is a huge fan of Dragon Age Inquisition. So you had like a person trying to get you to play each of those games. So it's
And
like
it wasn't a reason of like possession, because I actually own all 3 of those games now. So it
Yeah,
wasn't like,
exactly.
oh, I
Yeah,
own
yeah.
one and not the other one. Like I
Yeah.
literally own all of them.
No, I absolutely no. I think truthfully, like all jokes aside, I think you should play Skyrim when you feel like you want to play Skyrim. I don't like. I think the best time to play games is when you're hungry to play them. You know, like not when you feel like you should. You know what I mean? Not when you feel like they're next in line, but when you are like, damn, like I saw this and it looks fucking cool, so I gotta like do this in this game or something.
I mean,
like that.
this the cheesy. I went with my heart. I was just like, you know what? I really
No.
feel like I'm in the mood for this, so let's do this. That's
How it should be done.
I don't have like a huge analytical reason for it. I was just like, I feel like doing this. So, and I'm glad.
think-
Like honestly, the game has been so much more. I mean, it was described again. Like everything gets compared to The Witcher, of course, but like it was kind of described, you know, in that way. But honestly, this game is so
The Witcher
much
or
more.
Dark Souls. That's the
It's
comparison
more
for
of everything that I anticipated. So I'm really enjoying it. So
I mean, me and Trev are going to be talking about this in more detail soon in a video, but I think
Soon,
sometimes
PM.
comparisons are good. They're good to get you interested in games like that you might not know about. Like, oh, you liked this, you might also like this. But I sometimes feel like people go too far with the comparisons and like be like, oh, these two games, they're similar, in these like really obvious ways. You know, they're fantasy or whatever, and they're set in, you know, similar settings, etc., etc. Therefore, they're the same, which is almost never true. Like in my experience, like Dragon Age is like has its own identity from The Witcher, and The Witcher has its own identity from Skyrim, and Skyrim has its own identity from Amalur, and etc., etc. Like they actually all feel kind of different enough to me.
So I did bring up a good point. I mean, I will say the sheer size of the world is daunting. Like, I'm not putting, like, by any stretch of the imagination, I'm not putting any kind of pressure on myself to, like, 100% this game. I don't know if anyone has enough hours in the...
Ash almost did, and she had one trophy left, and then she didn't get it because.
Yeah, but she wasn't streaming that game. She
No,
did
yeah,
stream.
that was like when it first
She was
came
streaming
out.
at the time, but she didn't. She stopped streaming specifically just to play this game. And I almost like now I'm playing it, I understand why. Yeah, because I kind of feel like I could easily sink 200, 300 hours into this game if I really
Like-
wanted to go and get every little piece of, every little collectible, every little shard, every little conversation. So.
Do really well with like I mean, not just the high fantasy, I guess, but like the RPGs where you have like a lot of side quests and a lot of collectibles and just a lot of things to do. Like even if the world is really big and daunting, like you're okay with it, I think, even like at times, even though it's still daunting, because you know that you're gonna have a lot to do in those games, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because like
absolutely.
Witcher, you put so much time into, and I know you're gonna put so much time into Dragon Age, and like when you do get to like Fable or one of the Elder Scrolls games, like I know you'll put like a lot of time into that because you can. Like you're just that kind of person that tends to just put a lot of time into those kinds of games.
Yeah. Games like that, I see something on my map that indicates a side quest, I gotta get it. The completionist madness.
Honestly,
yeah.
I'm really glad that because you know, I'm not. I feel like it doesn't seem right to say anal retentive about it. Like I'm not, but I'm not. Like I'm not. I've never been like I need every trophy. I need every single.
I don't know if that's a
item.
life you want to live. I used to live that
No.
life. Where it was like I need to like platinum. I have like 14 platinums, and I was like,
Good swag, how are you?
I was like, was it worth it? And I was like, yeah, I mean they're cool, but
I think it
The way-
depends on the game for me. Some games make me want to do that. Sorry, Morgan, go ahead.
Well, the way that I am with certain games is that like I'll see a side quest and I'll just be like, I'm already over here. I might as well do it. And then I see another
yeah,
one.
but
I'm
then
like,
that
I'm already
spawns
over
another
here, I
one,
might as
and
well
then
do
that
it.
spawns another one, and it's like, all right,
And
well
then
now
Exactly.
and you forget what your purpose was to begin with. That has happened to me so many times. We're like, I
It's
need
like,
to
okay.
do this
you
area
go
for a
back to the
reason.
main story. It's just like, who are you? It's like,
It's like, okay, so let me see. So like the thing that I stopped doing the main story for was I've been going on this fetched quest to get this little girl enough ingredients to be able to bake a pie. So I'm finally done with that. What exactly is going on in the story? Oh, right. There's an evil overlord that has set fire to half of the map. I need to go take care of that.
they just waited when you got the ingredients. Like, oh, okay, well, we'll wait till you're done.
Red, the Dark Lord is very nice.
He's very considerate. It's like, oh, you can help that lady. It's fine.
Don't
I
go
think-
ahead.
I think
Help
some
the little
games, like, you can unconsciously sort of read how you feel about them based on how much you actually sometimes want to complete. Now, some people are not completionists with anything, but there are some games that, like, when you're done with, you're like, oh boy, I'm glad that's over. Like, I'm not going back to complete that. You know what I mean? But there's some games that make you... I think it's impressive when a game makes someone who's not a completionist feel like a completionist. You know, like, oh, like I really got to go do everything in this game. Like, that's an accomplishment. Hey, Faking, how are you?
You got shot. You got shot good.
I will silence
Um,
everybody.
Morgan, you have been playing on your stream Jenny Leclue, and tell us about the game. I think it's a really cool game, so tell us about the game.
Oh, the way I play games is kind of, I mean, maybe a bit weirder to some people. I find I actually look at art style and everything as like a first, basically. I know a lot of people are like, okay, I'm gonna look into this. See, it looks kind of neat, but I gotta look into the mechanics first. And I'll obviously look into mechanics as well, because like if it's a game that, even though the art style is really cool, if it's the kind of mechanics that I'm just not going to be into, I probably won't buy the game. But my interest is piqued when I see a really interesting art style. That's just how I am. And I love playing games that have interesting art styles. And this one, Jenny LeClue, basically is a game where it's a murder mystery story, and it's like a 2D. It's like a 2D painted game, and I don't know. Like I had never actually heard of it, and I was just flipping through the Nintendo eShop on my Switch one night because I was gonna buy this game called Raji, which is actually a really cool game so far. I have played a little bit of it, which it's actually by it was an Indian game developer, and it's all about like India and stuff like that. Like the characters and everything are really cool. But that's actually what I was intending on like going and getting on my Switch, and then I just saw this little game called Jenny LeClue Detective-Vu, and I was like, "What is this? This art style is adorable!" And it's just this little like redheaded girl wearing a trench coat with a journal. And I was like, detective, okay, well, I'm going to look at this. And it hadn't even come out yet. And for me, I don't think anybody has heard of Broken Age. Elijah Wood is actually in it. And I think so is Jack Black. And
is he trying to deliver a ring to Mordor?
No.
Jack
but that's actually... Yeah, Jack Black is actually in it.
Yeah, he's in a few games, actually.
Yeah, he actually does quite a few games. And
they're all Double Fine games, but the
oh yeah, that actually makes sense because that is a Double Fine game.
Yes.
Broken Ages. Because I also think he's in Psychonauts, and that's also
he's in Psychonauts, and he's in
he's
what's
on
the
his
one?
own guitar,
The metal one.
Tenacious D or whatever.
Brutal Legend, yeah, Brutal Legend, yeah.
And I love Broken Age. It's different. It's a really different kind of game, basically, where you play as these two characters. For some reason right now their names are escaping me, even though I've played the game a million times. Shay and her name might be Val, but I don't think that's it. Vela. It's Vela. And you actually can play as both of the characters, and it's two separate stories that eventually intersect. And I love the art style. It's very puzzly, and so is Jenny LeClue. Very puzzly, and I love games like those. And the art styles, like 2D painted looking art styles, are pretty much some of my favorites. Like I don't really know how to describe them, like and why I love them so much. But most of the time, it ends up being like an interesting story. Usually, it's puzzly. It's not like a lot of like combat stuff. It's just I get to do a good old puzzle and I get to use my mind and the stories are usually kind of interesting.
I got a real Professor Layton like vibe from that game.
Yeah. Actually, especially when like one of the little parts when you solve one of the little things, the noise that it makes, just for some reason, that was actually the first thing that I thought of was Professor Layton also. I also like the Professor Layton games. But yeah, like games like those, like Ace Attorney as well, I really liked. Like any if it's a game that has some kind of puzzly element to it and it's 2D, I'll probably play it, and I'm loving it so far. I've only gotten to play a little bit of it because I want to play it only on stream, even though like I've been like really wanting to play it, and I've been making sure to stop the urges. But it's really cute so far. It's very interesting. One of the things that actually made me really happy was so far I've had like almost like I think like 3 people say, like one of which was like actually did pick it up after seeing me play it, and 2 others were like, I think I might actually buy this game, and nobody had ever heard of it, and I hadn't heard of it. So it's kind of like a, you know, like a hidden gem almost, really, and I'm loving it so far. I definitely got to play more of it.
I'm really excited to hear about Raji when you get more into that, because I know that was a game you and I were like watching a conference or something when that was like first being announced, I think, and it was like instantaneously a game that you could tell you were going to really enjoy.
Yeah, I like games with, like I said, interesting art styles, different kinds of storylines. Most of the time, the games that I end up really getting into aren't like the big game of the year, you know? Even though like I still need to play more of Ghost of Tsushima, but like, you know, like everybody's kind of like going Ghost of Tsushima and, you know, maybe Call of Duty and The Last of Us, you know, probably Cyberpunk. Even though I've
on record,
gotten,
I don't think anyone's saying Call of
Travis.
Duty is going to be the game of the year.
I mean,
I'll
they've
throw that out
been
there
up
right
for
now.
Game of the Year before.
Maybe they'll
But,
get
like-
action game of the year since there's no actual action games. Well, I guess no. It actually Ghost of Tsushima. Actually, I think that's a more deserving title of action game than Call of Duty is, or ever was, or ever will be.
But like, even though I will and have played these games, like for me, the ones that I end up really enjoying usually are the ones that kind of fall under the radar a little bit. And you know, like for me, that's okay, you know, because I'm the one that's enjoying them. And if I can play, like that's one of the reasons why I like having the stream so much, is because then I can play those games that I love a whole lot and maybe not a lot of people know about. So then I can kind of get them out there a little bit. Game of the Year, Viva Pinata 2020. Let me tell you though, Sai, if they did another Viva Pinata, I would play it. My brother was obsessed with that game.
I genuinely think Game of the Year will go to Half-Life Alyx because it's pioneering in a way that like very few games ever will have the opportunity to be technologically.
Isn't it like exclusively a VR game?
That's kind of what I'm getting at, though. It's by VR owners. Almost every VR owner I've spoken to about it said it's the first great game for VR. That's like, holy shit! I'm glad I have VR to play this.
But how does that compare to like? Because like, yeah, it may be a great game for VR, but like that. I'm not trying to like downplay Half-Life Alyx, but like there are other factors than just being the best VR. Because like if every other VR game is like shitty, then it's like you're the best by like default, and then it's just...
But that's kind of what I'm getting at, though, because there's a lot of other VR games that have like given it a go, but a lot of people haven't really felt like they either feel like they didn't take advantage of the technology, like i.e. like why did this have to be a VR game? Like if you look at a lot of games that are converted over, like, you know, Fallout, Skyrim, that sort of thing. So there's people who wonder, why did this have to be a VR game? Or if it's clear that it had to be a VR game, they're like, oh, well, this doesn't really feel like a game so much as feels like a VR tech demo kind of thing. So I think like in a sea of people trying to make things work, I think that's one of the things that makes Half-Life Alyx stand out, is that it's like, holy shit, like no one knew how to do this. Like,
well, I was just saying, like, how is it gonna, because like, I feel like that's an uphill battle for it to be like a contender for the because obviously a lot of people don't have VR, and then secondly, like all these other games that come out on console are more accessible, so like more people, and like, well,
that's
certainly true. Yeah,
that's actually a thing that I can remember talking about not that long ago, because I can remember a lot of people when was 2018, I believe. Because quite a few people were like, okay, Red Dead Redemption 2 is going to win Game of the Year. And
I was not one of those people. I know.
Well, maybe you were. A lot of people I can remember talking to were like, I would like it to be God of War, but I feel like it will be Red Dead Redemption 2 because that's on Xbox and PlayStation, which is more accessible. And then kind of flipped, and it ended up going to God of War instead. So, you know, like that can happen, even if it's a game that has less accessibility, which doesn't happen too terribly often. Because in, like, say for like 2015, for example, that was The Witcher, which was on both PS4 and Xbox One at the time.
And PC. And because they're CDPR, they're very big PC.
Right, yeah.
As well.
I forgot that it was already on there. But yeah, like it kind of depends. It's not always on accessibility. So depending on how good the thing is, what ends up trumping the accessibility part is like whether or not like it was just that good.
Can I
because like some of the PlayStation exclusives or anything exclusive can kind of like overshadow that a bit, because like I almost said Legend of Zelda, although I think Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild might have gotten Game of the Year in 2017, but I don't remember. But like The Last of Us is what I was gonna say. Last of Us 1 for PS3 got Game of the Year in 2013.
Last
I
of Us
agree.
did not win Game of the Year.
Really? Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure
For
won.
2013?
It lost to Grand Theft Auto.
Um,
I would not forget. I honestly, hold on.
so
I
just to
won.
address really
I'm
quickly,
pretty sure.
for what it's worth, Last of Us just won. I just checked. Yeah, it did win.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I could have sworn because I was like, okay, then those game of the year.
Okay, I might have like misremembered that, but they lost something to frickin' Grand Theft.
So to address,
I would have said, because I was like, okay, then all of those like boxes that have one game of the year award on them are so wrong.
to
I think I don't know. I'm thinking of
well,
something.
a lot of games. Yeah. So to address what Giona said about how VR is usually its own award, I agree, Giona. But of course, at the Academy Awards, Best Foreign Film is also its own award. But this past year, Best Picture was still given to Parasite. So there have been cases recently of usually when an award
Rory also
category.
hasn't watched yet, so don't talk.
Yes, that's true. There are cases of an award category being segmented for a long time, like Best Foreign Film, which unfortunately, and for what it's worth, I think it's an absolute travesty that prior to Parasite, a lot of Best Foreign Films weren't considered for Best Picture, weren't nominated for Best Picture, because there were, I remember many years where a foreign film I thought was way stronger than half the nominations for Best Picture. And so you may get something like that happen in the Game Awards, where historically, yes, VR is its own award, but you get a crossover hit that's so big.
But yeah, like certain games obviously span different categories. Like
exactly.
For
it's just,
Christ's sake, like COD was in the action game category. It's like it definitely doesn't belong there, but they put it there, and then it was also
for what it's worth. Yeah,
that was
exactly.
weird.
Yeah. That was an absolute obscenity. But for what it's worth, Giona, if I were a betting man, I would bet the way you probably bet. If I was to say, if I wanted to bet safely, I would say you're probably right. That it will be in a separate category, though. I will go with my gut. If we were in the same place, we could put a bet on it. It's like we could bet on I'd buy you lunch or something like that.
Or sometimes they accidentally announce the wrong game or the wrong movie at the Oscars.
Was Steve Harvey there? Is that one?
That can happen.
And the tiny indie movie that actually won still gets overshadowed by the other one.
Yep.
Yeah. Although I have to say, I thought Moonlight was phenomenal. I was so completely impressed by that one. And I was happy to see it win. Truthfully.
Same.
So Rory, I know that you're gonna start making some changes to like, I don't know if you want to. You can either talk
I can
or
talk
not
about it.
talk
It's
about
okay.
it, but
Yeah.
like the foundations of like your stream and like what you're playing and stuff. So like, I know you've been doing a lot of Skyrim recently. So
we're going through a pretty extensive rebranding right now. Yeah, there will be certainly there will be certain stealth games in the future, especially for challenge runs and stuff like that, but the channel is no longer themed around stealth games and is now being rethemed primarily around Elder Scrolls games and specifically around modding. I guess in the spirit of one of the things about this, one of the sort of modus operandi of this channel was to talk about the thoughts of streaming and why streamers make decisions and why we do what we do. And there's a couple reasons for that, but just briefly, I'll say that as a gamer, I've realized that stealth gaming is not a meaningful categorization of games, as meaningful as I once thought it was. It doesn't say enough about the game to actually describe a play experience, which is why I've come to learn that the reason I liked the stealth games I liked was because they were often immersive sims, not just because they were stealth games. And when I play more linear stealth games that are more restrictive in their freedom, I've learned that stealth gaming is not it's not descriptive enough. And furthermore, I think the content doesn't have the same progressive build that doing modding content has, where as soon as you start doing modding content, you can do let's look at new mods in the future. Let's you know, you've seen this game modded in this way for a while. Let's swap one mod around, and you can observe the changes and see which one you like, and then you can involve your viewers in, you know, helping them mod their own games. And there's
Mods
an
is like
obvious
a
progression.
constant flux of new and different content in a way.
Exactly. Yeah.
May I
opens up
ask
a huge world.
like I guess precipitated
Like prompted this, or
the shift, this epiphany that you've had about it? It's really more about the immersive sim aspect.
Only feeling. You know what? No, actually, I think there was a game in particular that I tried to stream. It was Thief 2014. So the Thief games, the first 3 were like immersive sims, and then when you play 2014, it's like the reason a lot of fans didn't like it is because it really restricted your freedoms. And at the time when I had first played it near launch, I was like, oh, this game's okay. And now playing it on stream, I feel it's appreciably different than I originally thought. And like, I'm like, oh, I really feel my lack of freedom, especially after streaming Dishonored so much. And I was like, I think that like set up, you know, like the seeds of doubt, right? Where you're like, oh, like this makes me reconsider like what it means fundamentally to be a stealth game. And I think alternatively, I was also watching other streams, and I was seeing like what other streamers were doing and seeing how their content lent itself to building up towards something. And you know, if you watch a speedrunner, me and Morgan have been watching speedruns lately, right? And when Twitch streamers, they do their speedruns, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, they're building towards a time, they're building towards a personal best. I can see how this actually evolves. But I don't see how stealth gaming evolves. I would say that those different things sparked my epiphany on rebranding. And I think also I have like a desire for simplicity and for having a straightforward brand and purpose to my channel. I can't do what Ash does. You know what I mean? Where Ash's theme of her channel is Ash, right? And it's Ash for whatever she's playing. And I personally, I can't do that. Like I just like I'm not capable of that sort of thing. So I was like, I need like a theme. So I guess that's those couple things. That was a lot more long-winded than I intended it to be. I apologize.
Well, I know. I'm pretty sure we've had this conversation on this channel, but like we had a conversation at one point where it was like setting your channel as like being something in particular versus like the whole variety thing. Like it may not have been like super lenient to like what you're going through right now, but we've definitely had this conversation before where it was like branding yourself as variety or branding yourself as this one specific thing. And I think back then you were on the side of branding yourself as one specific thing as opposed to like doing the whole. So it's interesting to see you kind of like not completely 180, but kind of like shift in like what you said originally when you were like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna do stealth, to like now being like, oh, I realize this isn't really what I wanted. It was more of this.
Exactly. Yeah, it's interesting to me. I think streaming is very worthwhile as an endeavor because there are some things in the world you do for a year and then you feel like you plateau, right? And you don't learn anything new about it after a certain time. Like certain skills, you do the skill and then it's like, okay, I have this, you know, now like this is the way, like, you know, I do this and this is the way I've always done it. But streaming is like, you never stop learning new shit, you know, like you get so far in it and you're like, but that thing I thought at the beginning, that's wrong now, like for me, you know, like, fuck, I gotta change it. Like,
well, you constantly have to evolve. You constantly have to evolve,
survive, adapt, overcome. That's what I tell people all the time.
All right,
By the way,
Travis.
I did find something. So Melly was right. So The Last of Us 1 Game of the Year, pretty much in everything, including the DICE Awards that it was nominated in, except for the Golden Joystick Awards that lost to Grand Theft Auto 5.
It actually lost to Grand Theft Auto 5?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
You're right.
So
yeah,
it was yeah, it was for the Golden Joystick Awards.
Because I think in my mind I was like, Last of Us won everything. Except, yeah, they
Yeah, and
Oh.
actually for the Golden Joystick Awards, except for Game of the Year, Best Visual Design, and Best Gaming Moment, they were nominated for that. They won for Naughty Dog won for Studio of the Year, and then Best Storytelling and Best Newcomer was Last of Us.
yeah.
Oh my god, I'm mentally I didn't clock that, and when you said best storytelling, I thought that was the one that Grand Theft Auto 5 won, and I was like, huh? like I understand some people like
Grand Theft Auto game
5,
wins for
but-
best story. It's just like, what? Like, where are we at?
I mean, when it does, I want to play that one. You know, that's the one I'll finally play.
That Melly
I
will
think-
be happy about this because at the Game Awards, guess what won Game of the Year in 2014?
I don't even remember
Dragon
what
Age
came out in
Inquisition.
24.
Oh, it was a Dragon Age Inquisition.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
That
you
won
played
Game
a
of the
few-
Year?
I didn't realize it was that well
It's a
decorated.
good game, but
Yeah.
I
2014.
Gianna, I just give shit for that because I've never actually played a Grand Theft Auto game.
don't
so
worry, Phil. We haven't talked
I can't,
about the.
I can't talk intelligently about. Grand
Well,
Theft Auto.
we've seen Ash play it for like she played it for like 2 days, and it was like really like cringe to watch. 'Cause, like just like the dialogue they used was like, oh god, this is.
I mean, if
not
it's ever
TOS.
free on PlayStation Plus, I'll download it.
For my own
I'm-
part in it, I would have to say that I thought the writing in other Grand Theft Auto games hit a lot more home with me personally, and I don't really love Grand Theft Auto that much, but I'll admit that like Grand Theft Auto 4 in particular, I was like, this is actually pretty cool. But GTA 5 didn't hit home for me.
Do you guys know that the Game Awards gave Overwatch Game of the Year in 2016? I did not know that.
I didn't know
I
that
always
either.
thought it was a game that had some kind of storyline.
Yeah, I thought it was. Well, I mean, it has like lore and stuff, but like it's not like a story-based game. It's not like you.
There's
go
no
through it,
narrative,
It's like, oh
yeah.
yeah, you beat
It
this
has
boss. and
wonderful
then-
animated shorts. Wonderful animated shorts.
That is so interesting. Yeah, the last few years it's been Dragon Age Inquisition, Witcher Wild Hunt, Overwatch, Breath of the Wild, God of War, Sekiro. That's pretty
Oh,
I
cool.
think
I
you
wonder what
pronounced
it'll be this
Sekiro
year.
wrong. It's Sekiro.
I just want to say I'm not gonna get into necessarily things like British office versus American office or or British Broad Church versus American Broad Church, but I will say that at the British Game Awards in 2012, Dishonored won Game of the Year, and I'm just saying. I mean,
Did it not win in America? I'm assuming.
where's Dishonored at your award show, Jeff?
Oh my
Direct
gosh.
fallout.
Yeah, like I'm wondering like what it's going to be this year because like, I mean, at one point I probably would have said The Last of Us. I don't know though.
Cyberpunk.
I don't know if Cyberpunk
That's the other
will
thing.
make
Yeah,
it,
we
though.
don't know when the cutoff is because like
I'm not sure when the
Cyberpunk-
cutoff for it is. Yeah, because
If it came out when it was originally supposed to come out, I feel like it would
Yeah.
have been a home run, like slam.
Or even
like,
in
it would've
September,
been-
but since
it would have
it's-
been fine. But
since it's coming out in November, I actually don't know. I know for, I mean, Smash Bros came out in December, so for them, they actually weren't on any kind of thing until 2019.
yeah, the following.
Yeah,
even though-
December's
even though-
right out. It's somewhere in November's the cutoff, but I'm
So
sure of it.
I actually don't know.
But will
I'm
it
really
count
excited
though?
for
If it like say like the cutoff is like November like 15th or whatever, and Cyberpunk releases the 14th, like is that
They
enough
probably
time
not.
to like? I would assume
probably
that would count for
wouldn't.
the next year.
Because that's only like a month. I mean, not barely actually, even because
Yeah.
that means that hardly anybody, like people in the actual public, not just people in like the gaming industry and like gaming journalism, to be able to play them early. It just wouldn't give anybody enough time to really actually delve into it enough.
And that
That
game is
they would
super
have enough
in-depth
opinion
from
on it.
what
Well,
they've released.
yeah, I agree with Trev and you, but I also think that on top of that, I wouldn't want, even if it was just enough time to get in depth into it, I wouldn't want that because I feel like you're still in a honeymoon phase with a game then. Like, I bet we've all had games where we played it and we're like, that was awesome. And then either we played it a few years later or we look back on it and we're like, that really didn't like.
Arkham Knight for me. I was just like, yo, this game's awesome.
Arkham Knight?
Part of the,
Yeah.
Part of the series. And after a while, I was like, that game was fucking trash.
Like you kind
You
of
look
think to
back
yourself
and-
like, oh, I loved this game when it came out, but it's like then you try to play it again, you're like, what? how did I get through this and enjoy it?
Yeah, no,
You know?
exactly. Yeah, I think that's part of like, because I think whether we want to or not, like we can get swept up in the novelty of a game. You know,
brand
like this
new,
is so
you know?
new and
Like,
different, and maybe you were excited for it.
Wait
you know?
6 months and then come back and see how you feel about it afterwards.
I actually think like gamers who wait for sales have an advantage in that regard.
Mhm.
Like, you know, all the hype has died down, you know, like you can just like the game's 3 years old, which in gaming is a fucking eternity. And like you know, you'd be like, you know, like Melly for instance playing Dragon Age Inquisition right now. And that game, we think it's old, right?
It's not,
you know what
no,
I mean?
it came
Like
out
it's
not
not
too
really
long
that
ago.
old. Like
I thought it was
this
old when I
console
got
generation.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're already playing Skyrim. That game is older than Inquisition.
Yeah.
but,
It came out in 2011. I mean, it doesn't
2011.
look like it came out in 2011 the way I
it's
play
been
it.
remastered
but
9 times. So
yeah, and modded to hell. So, yeah, that definitely factors in. So who did anyone keep up with Gamescom? I feel like I was late to the party on Gamescom.
No.
a
I
little
have
bit.
been so out of it about everything lately.
well,
That
I knew
I
it
have
was
no
happening, and that was all I knew. I was like, all right, I'll wait till for the internet to tell me what was super announced at Gamescom, and they didn't. So I assume nothing was announced that was like good.
The first
all I
night
know
of
about is that there was a new trailer for Little Nightmares 2, and I'm excited for it, and that's it. And I'm usually the kind of person that's like wanting to watch these things live, and I didn't even know when they were happening.
it was the first. So the
Didn't wanna
first
see
night of
25 minutes
Gamescom
of
was
Godfall.
that was Morgan and mine anniversary, the first night of Gamescom. So we definitely didn't watch it that night. And I feel like then we kind of forgot about it after, because if you don't start at the beginning, it's kind of like E3. Like, you know, if you don't gear up at the beginning and get hyped,
it's over
then you sort
now.
of forget that it's happening. And so, yeah, I think that's why we missed it. I went back to look at what was announced and the kind of stuff. Melly, did anything leap out at you? Did you hear anything from Gamescom that made you very excited?
The only thing I was like, now that I'm excited about is there was more about Dragon Age 4 that came out.
Yes.
But I was told not to watch the rest of the trailer. I
Well-
started watching the first minute of it.
Wasn't Dragon Age 4
Because-
like alluded to for like 9 years or whatever?
Yeah.
It was
I mean-
mentioned. It was mentioned, I think, first 2 years ago, maybe. I want to say
There
something
were
like that.
rumors that there was going to be more information coming out about it this year.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to watch too much of it, so I watched the first minute of the trailer, and then I was told to not finish watching it because there's major spoilers that will like impact my experience of Inquisition. So I will wait. I'm gonna wait,
I'll
but I'm
just
excited
watch it.
because now
So I don't
I have
remember.
I have a new franchise that I'm like, you know,
You're invested
actually invested
in. You're like, all right,
Yeah, so I'm
I've put
definitely
my
pretty
eggs in this
excited.
basket. Now
Yeah.
I'm like, let's go.
They're all the dragon eggs are in the basket, so I'm gonna be ready for them. You know, whenever the.
I'm
fourth
actually
one
just
comes out.
gonna look it up. Like, what were the Gamescom announcements?
I was talking to
There's
this
here.
with,
Let me. I can save you some time actually because.
Oh, I'm
there's a-
excited
I
for
have-
Fall Guys Season 2. I want to play that. I want all.
I have a masters list up here, so
We were talking about it
Um,
earlier when we were playing games, and I was like, I don't remember anything being.
yeah.
announced
Me and
that
Trev
much.
were talking about it. Yeah. There's the master list if anybody needs
Oh.
that of all the list of all the
Yep,
announcements.
I already had found it.
Oh, okay.
Something called. Oh, I know about this game. 12 minutes. I do remember seeing that.
I asked Roy. I was like, "Do you know what 12 minutes is?" And I was like, "It's got a star-studded cast because it's got I don't remember the names, but I know they're like famous people."
Hold on. Let me look it up so I can figure out about this too, because I also don't know anything about this game. Let's see. 12 minutes. It's not ringing a bell. Maybe I heard about it a long time ago or something.
So far, nothing's really popping out at me.
I know there was mention of Crash 4, right? Out of Time or whatever. But other than that, I feel like that's the only like series that holds weight with people.
I feel
That's
like I should be into
top-down.
Scarlet Nexus, but at the same time, I'm kind of am not for some reason.
No,
but it's a
it's
Wii
not a
game, and
Kojima
I
game.
should be. It's also, I don't know how it's gonna work because like I don't know if that's gonna be an Xbox. I don't know if it's supposed to be on Xbox Series X first, or if it will eventually come to PC, if it's just coming to Xbox One. What is this one? Spellbreak. I like the art style of this one.
I remember specifically that this was like a game that like had really famous voice actors in it, or like they were like just like super famous people. But I don't remember like.
In 12 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. They don't mention it on their Wikipedia page, so
Yeah, that's what I'm
let me
saying.
look it up
Hold
on like IMDb or something.
Spellbreak looks like the art style actually looks like the Dragon Prince, and I remember somebody saying that
Oh.
people from the Dragon Prince were making a game. I think this might be
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, so it has Daisy Ridley, who you will know
Yeah,
great from
right.
Star
And then
Wars.
someone
It
else.
has James McAvoy, who you might know
Yes.
as Professor X, or the guy who bends bullets in that movie, Wanted, with Angelina
Or Mr.
Jolie.
Wait, he was the guy.
Mr. Tumnus!
Mr. Tumnus.
Ah!
Wait,
Yeah!
wait. James McAvoy was the guy in Wanted, and he was Mr. Tumnus. I did not know this.
Yes, same guy.
Also, he's now in the universe of what is it? It's Unbreakable, Split,
Yes.
and
Oh.
what Glass. That's the new one. That's what the new one is called. which I've
And
not
then
seen.
of course William Dafoe's in it as well. So.
Willem, yeah. Who a lot of people know as the Green Goblin, or the dude
Yes.
from Boondock Saints, or any of the Grand Budapest Hotel. Like, he's been in a million things. Like, you're right. Okay, so it is quite a cast.
Okay, Spellbreak looks cool as hell. So
Scarlet
there's
Nexus looks okay. It looks like
Yeah,
Code Vein,
Scarlet-
kind of.
That's what I was kind of thinking, because it's Bandai Namco.
Oh, is it?
Oh, it's a Bandai Namco game. Okay, yeah.
Mhm. Which is
Oh, I
also
think I
Code
know about this. This is not the first time this has ever been announced, is it? Okay, no, it was announced on May 7th. Because I was gonna say, because
Yeah.
I'm on like the
Oh.
Bandai Namco mailing list,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I was gonna say, like, I thought I had received like an email about this game.
I think September 3rd.
Someone leaked it on accident. Oh shit! I'm like, Rory's on that show. He's gonna announce it to everyone beforehand. Let's make sure we get it out.
Oh, it's a free-to-play game. Okay. Interesting. Spellbreak looks pretty cool, but I'll have to think about it.
This is kind of off topic, but you know
Yeah.
how Avengers came out today? I've heard.
did?
Yeah, I've heard very mixed reviews on it. If I'm being honest with you.
The heroes are having a rough time lately because they had Marvel
Fiona?
vs. Capcom Infinite, which was also
Yeah.
looked like a mobile game.
Yeah, it said, yeah, this one must be like a free-to-play, because looking at the gameplay, it actually did look like the kind of game that would be like a multiplayer game. But it looks pretty cool. I might try it if it's free, especially. Plus, if
Oh
it's
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
really quick. Well, because it to me it does look like it's from the makers of the Dragon Prince, because the art style is just very Dragon Princey.
So
But-
Ray, yes. Yeah, Rocket League is going free to play. One of my friends is a really like high level League player, and he was telling me about that because he bought it for one of his friends,
That's
and
like-
then they
that's
announced
like-
they were going free to play, and he was like, "God damn it!"
That's like Andrew in his prime before he got washed up. And I only say that because I say this to him all the time. Didn't that happen with what was it? It was either Final Fantasy or Elder Scrolls. It was like it's not like free to play, but it's like
Elder Scrolls
longer, yeah.
Online went like they ditched their subscription model. Well, they ditched their mandatory subscription model because when it first came out,
Yes.
you had to pay a subscription, right? Like just like World of Warcraft.
And now it's like
and then they were like, yeah. And that's good. Like, honestly, like, that's better. A, because I'm not mad on subscription models, but B, because, like, WoW gets away with a lot of anomalous shit. And the reason it gets away with it because it's WoW. Like, we said, I think, just like last week, like, don't, like, if you're starting out streaming, don't look at super famous streamers and be like, surely they did everything right. Because, like, maybe they succeeded in spite of doing something wrong, you know? And that's kind of like what WoW is, I feel like. Like, don't just try to be WoW if you're an MMO. Because, like, WoW gets away with it on, you know, brand recognition and player loyalty, largely, you know, so they can do some, like, truly... I wonder what WoW would have to do to really fuck up. Like,
Also about Spellbreak, it's not from the same
Microtransactions.
makers, just looks very similar.
looks really similar.
Mhm.
Here, let me look up this, because Dragon Prince is the... We've seen... You showed me a couple episodes of that, right?
Love
The,
Dragon Prince.
that was good. We should watch that. We should continue watching that.
Wait, it's a
Yeah, I
show?
love it. It's a show
Yeah,
on
yeah,
Netflix.
yeah, on Netflix,
So-
yeah.
It's
And
from
as a
some of the
game?
same.
Is
No.
it being adapted? Oh.
That's
but
my
there-
knowledge.
But I
is
guess
it?
they're no. Oh wait. Do you mean like the Dragon Prince is going to become a game soon?
Yeah.
Because I have heard about that. I have
Oh,
heard that they
there
wanted
is?
to make
Okay.
one, yeah. So it's actually a show I like a lot. It's from some of the same creators and writers as Avatar. And actually the guy who plays Sokka, Jack Dacina, actually plays one of the main characters. It's actually a really cute show. And to be honest, at first, I wasn't too keen on the art style because it was very choppy looking. But they actually, for one thing, it actually got a lot better. And as the show went on, it actually became like kind of part of the charm of the show. But the animation style got like loads better also, like further into the show. And I love like high fantasy type things, and so it made me super happy to see like a show like this and for it to just really kind of pull me in. And I love the art style now, but it's a really, really good show. So if anybody like, for those of you who like cartoons and stuff like that, like especially like Netflix ones that have like a lot of storyline to them, She-Ra and The Dragon Prince are two really good ones. Avatar and Korra are now on Netflix as well. And if you want just a cute one that I still haven't finished, there's one called Hilda. That's super cute.
Since you mentioned art styles, one quick thing I'd mention about the Pokemon game I was playing was it actually does not use the same like graphics or engine for other Pokemon games. The art style for that game is actually watercolored, which I thought was really cool because it's like a different, like it still looks great, but like it's like not your traditional Pokemon.
Yeah. No, I noticed when you were playing that it looked very, very different. Like I had never heard of the game before at all, so it was like seeing it was like a totally new experience for me. It looked like fun.
That's just something that I like about Nintendo games is usually they have like, not obviously it's not always Nintendo, but usually their music's fun and like a lot of their games, like their art styles just kind of make you feel good, you know?
That was actually one of the selling points for the game for a lot of people. At least in all the reviews I saw, was that like music was like the greatest thing about that game, which I agree because it was like I never felt like the music was dull or bland at any point.
Well, like at one, because like even though I love Persona, listening to You Never See It Coming for like 600 hours kind of grates on you a little bit.
How does that make you feel, Ray? I know you just platinumed it.
Hopefully he didn't do it in 400, like more than 426 hours, because if he did, I feel very sorry. And I'm sorry that I helped in that. But yeah, like I think that's part of it really too, is that like the enjoyment of a game, like you end up enjoying it more when the music kind of like really pulls you in. Get tired of P5 music, impossible. Yeah, there's just some music that I just love listening to, you know, like Harvest Moon music. I can just sit and listen to that. Like it's just, especially the older games have like really nice like guitar music and stuff that sometimes it's just like really relaxing to listen to.
I think that's definitely true, by the way, about Nintendo and embracing art style. And I also think Nintendo's undercredited for how much a lot of their games embrace cool mechanics. And I think that's like proven when they like, because as Trev said, Nintendo for years was very kid friendly and stuff. But one of the things I've noticed with the Switch is they've definitely tried to expand a little bit, not just with like, you know, ports of things like Doom and The Witcher and such sort of things, but also with like basically making games happen like Bayonetta. You know what I mean? Like, which is a very mechanics heavy, very difficult game, right? Which is really cool. Sorry, Trev, you were about to say?
Oh no, I was just saying that. What did you take away from? This would be a transition. I was gonna say like, what were you taking away from the NVIDIA? Because I don't know if you said you didn't watch it, right?
I haven't seen the whole reveal. I've seen like the individual videos of pieces of the event, but I didn't watch the conferences that was happening, which I think totaled to around 45 minutes.
I just saw the screenshot at like this, like someone made at the end where it was like, oh, this does this, and then like it was different models. I was like, all right, cool, all the info I need right here.
It opens up and the guy is there, and he's in his kitchen, but like not a lot of people notice, but the one of the RTX cards is behind the spatulas. Like
Oh
in the
my
kitchen.
God.
Like so actually like the first, I guess you could say the first moment we actually laid eyes on one, it was like behind a set of spatulas in like a kitchen of like this
I just
NVIDIA
know at
exec.
one point he like pulls it out of the oven or something, and I was like, this is the weirdest demonstration
It's done.
I've ever seen.
It's been baking this whole time.
It was like one of those really like comfortable, confident presentations, kind of like the PlayStation 4's first E3 presentation, when they were like, wow, Xbox fucked this up, and then they just came out with all their shit and they're like, this is fun, we're having a great time, we didn't expect this to go this well, kind of like. And although it wasn't like that in terms of contest, it wasn't like AMD had like a competing presentation, it was really feature dense for a video card, like, because like if you're in the audience and you're not into building PCs and stuff, or you know you have a built PC but you're not super into the parts or anything, you might think that like, why do I care about a video card reveal? And ordinarily I'd be right there with you, and you know, I'd encourage you to not care about it. But in this particular case, well, I wouldn't say I'd be right there with you. Yeah, I'd support you and understand you. But in this particular case, it pays for everyone to be a hardware nerd, because especially if you're a streamer, because NVIDIA announced their new streaming software, which is
is that gonna be like available to everyone with like NVIDIA, or is it
it's anyone with an RTX card.
Oh,
So
okay.
if you have an RTX card from 2000 series or later, so the new 3000 series are coming out, and they have really
I feel like that's
good
a very
price points.
narrow window though, like 2000 or 3000 series, like that's
Yeah, it's recent. Yeah, like so, and I think this will make maybe more people want to like hop into the like RTX hype train, because so like originally when RTX was pitched to the public, I mean it's in the title itself, RTX. It was a ray tracing thing, right? That was its big publicity thing, is ray tracing in games. And that's a fine selling point for things. Ray tracing is noticeable once you're shown a side by side, but it's not in and of itself. It doesn't really, you know, for the many people out there who don't want to build a high-end PC, they want to build a budget PC and just play their games on good settings at a respectable 60 frames at 1080. They don't give a shit for the most part about ray tracing.
yeah, they're not gonna care.
But they rolled out recently RTX Voice, which is a noise canceling piece of software for your microphone. And if you have RTX Voice on, you can literally clap right here and your mic won't pick it up. Like, you can watch demonstrations of this. Like, it's super fucking good.
Oh, that was the thing that Rory and I actually watched one time, because this one dude who uses a fight stick pretty often, he like never liked whenever his mic would pick up his fight stick because it would make so much noise. And he grabbed his fight stick and he was like, watch this, guys. And he would just clicking, and nothing was happening. Like you couldn't hear anything.
He was literally like smacking the buttons, and you know how loud, like, just to put in a reference for how loud fight stick buttons are, like,
no,
loud.
See, you can't hear it right there though, too. Like,
oh really? Did it?
Yeah.
Okay, my
Well, I
noise
think
canceling.
It sounded like there was a gate on it, because I heard the first one, but then it.
Oh
went
yeah,
away.
it's
Yeah,
probably
then,
my
like,
noise
the
gate.
next couple-
Probably
Yeah.
cut it out. Yeah.
But don't worry, I know.
Good job. Good job.
We
Mike.
had Fight Club, so I know how loud they are.
Yeah. I have the so, and like
when Rory was talking, you could hear it though.
yeah,
you know?
that's true. Yeah, if I was talking and activating my noise gate, you could definitely hear it. They're loud, trust me. And like, yeah, it was super impressive, and like, it's still in beta, and there's like, you know, they're working on it and stuff like that, but it worked pretty well, honestly. It did what it was supposed to do. It had a bit of trouble, you know, some people had trouble with integrating it with other pieces of software, but like, I didn't know if they were going to stop there or not, but with the new RTX cards, they're rolling out a bunch of stuff. So it's, you know, that by the way, that noise canceling is an AI, that's a feat of AI technology, which is NVIDIA has been really pushing. If you're in the world of AI programming, NVIDIA cards are like a must. Like, they're the standard for how we do things. In every AI situation that I've ever encountered in a lab, we bought an NVIDIA card to get it done. And they're using AI to do noise cancellation, and the broadcast software uses AI to do green screening, which is amazing. So you don't, like, if, you know, everybody, I think most people here know what a green screen is, but
Well,
you can
sometimes
imagine
it's
that
known as blue screen, but that's in like specific, like that's like
Yeah,
movies and,
yeah.
like other stuff. But
Yeah, like you can imagine, like for people who've used green screens, like it's a hassle, right? You got to put it up, and then maybe you don't always want it up. What if you just want to take a meeting, at work or something, and you just rather not have a green screen behind you? And people be like, why do you have that? Like, like it's an extra thing in your room that you might not want. And hang on a second.
Are we talking in class? Cut.
Well, I feel like
Got him.
I feel like green
Phone
screens
doesn't
are
go off also when I get a message from somebody, not saying it's somebody here, but
it's 1,000
Melly's been
of
waiting.
someone here.
Melly's been waiting for my phone to go off on the podcast since I
Since
called
that
her out that
episode.
one time, like in October.
It's almost a whole year, and she was like, "All right, one of these days he's gonna fuck up."
Sorry, the North remembers. Okay.
Like for streamers, like not having to get a green screen and not having to have a green screen on to do green screening is fucking unreal. And it can also blur your background, so you can do like a cool, which has like it's almost the illusion of focus, right? Like you can blur everything but you, right? And that's
a photography thing, actually. I don't remember what it's
Yeah.
actually called, but I know it because I studied photography for like a year. But that's an actual like idea and concept where it's like you want to focus on something and then like take away from the rest of the shot.
Yeah, exactly. And you can even move around, and it'll even like follow you. Like if like it'll take its center point and be like, oh, you're here now. Like I'm leaning over here. I'm dancing on stream or whatever I'm doing. And so I think that's like huge. Like I can imagine like what if you're like a Just Dance streamer or something like that. You know what I mean? Like that would be a really cool effect for your stream. Like
Yeah, I
that
think
actually
the
would be
question
pretty
now
cool.
is like, what's the limit for this feature? It's like,
yeah.
is it like only like certain movements, like if you're like swaying, or is it like the whole like Just Dance, like you can like go out and like do like break dancing and like that'll still get you, or like
Exactly. Like, what if your room isn't really well lit? Like, what are the effects then? You know what I mean? Like, what do you have to already have to manage this software? So I think sounds very teraflop intensive. Everyone keeps talking about teraflops. Is this because the Xbox meme when like Phil Spencer kept talking about teraflops at Xbox? That's like why I think everybody should care about this new video card reveal, or at least all the streamers, because I think it's such a interesting
streamers /
potential game
content
changer.
creators.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you could be a YouTuber or anything that uses video, really, right?
Yeah.
And this might be like highly relevant. It's also okay. So not like I don't want to use any marketing taglines here or anything like that. Like I want to wait until the card comes out and there's actual reliable benchmarks before I say anything. But in theory, this card should be really quiet. These cards, like they're really well cooled. And so I care because I need to build a new PC. That's good. Building new PCs is so much fun. Oh, that's wonderful. And I care because I want to train neural networks faster, and these cards will let me do that.
I feel that, Daryl. I feel
That's a
that.
respectable sentiment. I feel like a lot of people feel that.
Yeah.
I heard it on the NVIDIA presentation, and I've become obsessed. Oh, okay, yeah. It's become a big marketing thing. Like how many teraflops is like an often quoted statistic.
Now, the other thing I know you want to talk about was the NVIDIA streaming thing. Is like, is that going to be a slobs killer? Because like that's what we need. Because Rory's still out here using slobs, and he won't switch.
For my own part in it, I started with regular OBS because it was simple, right? And then people told me to switch to slobs for the integration.
People
So I
told you.
switched-
People told you.
Yes, people who shall not be named.
I'm not
For
gonna
the
out them.
purposes of not looking ridiculous in a minute when the story finishes. And so I switched to slobs, and I was not aware of the massive performance hit that you take by switching to slobs. Now, mind you, I have a 2700X in this machine right here. I can handle the performance hit from slobs, right? But I would just assume not handle it. So I was gonna say is I'm switching back to regular OBS, which I will do, but I will be testing the new NVIDIA stuff for two reasons. One of which is I would like to find out how it works and how performant it is, and the other reason is because I want to be able to tell my friends who are streamers how it works and how
like you can
performant
have
it
a
is.
conversation about it and like oh, I like this because you've obviously used them all, so like, or you will have used them all after this, and it'll be
Yeah,
like, hey,
exactly.
I like this,
Yeah,
this, and this about regular. I like this and this about the what you call it.
Because like this is one of those things that you don't want everybody to try it because it's a hassle to switch streaming softwares. You know what I mean? Like not everyone's gonna give it a go, so I'll gladly like guinea pig this one for the team, you know, and see how it works since I'm switching anyways, right? I figured, oh, this would be a perfect opportunity. And then we'll know how it works. And
now, did they mention if the features like the green screening and like the other things were gonna be only with the NVIDIA software that allows you to record, or is it gonna be available with every, like integrated
I think it's
with every?
specific to the software. I think it's specific to that. But that software is no. Sorry, I misspoke. Yes to both. Yeah. It's specific to the, like you need the software on, I think, to run it. But yes, it should be integrated into Discord and stuff like that. Like it should be like they've pitched that actually specifically. I think they even mentioned Zoom actually explicitly in their marketing because I think people are doing meetings and stuff, and they're like people want to know that like. You know, like Andrew joked, like when I don't mean to out Andrew here, but the first thing Andrew did when I mentioned this was joke about like my bed, which is sometimes made and sometimes not made on streams. And like, but that's a good point. Like if you're like, maybe you're taking a meeting or whatever, and you don't want to have to like get everything ready in the background to look professional for your boss, or maybe you're like, like you've got like weird like anime girl posters or something. You don't want your friends to see them on your Discord calls. So, you never know what like it
Or
could
maybe you're
be.
streaming from your girlfriend's stream room and you don't want everybody thinking that you're some weeb. with,
I
like,
loved
this
that.
Legend of Zelda
The
blanket
link,
and all
yeah.
these anime figures
That
in the
was so
background.
funny. I did a video for my students, like a midterm walkthrough in that room that Morgan's streaming because I was staying with her for a month or so, and I never acknowledged that I was in a different room. So I think they all just thought that was my own room.
Wow, that's Rory's room, huh? Wow, he's a weeb. Woohoo!
I'm surprised they didn't come up to you and like try to like befriend you after that. Like, hey, you like Link too? I was like, yeah. Like, did you play this? And
Played
like,
Legend of Zelda? Yeah, I've played a little bit of Breath of the Wild. Okay, so you really like Persona 5, huh? I saw the statues in the back. Yeah, played a few hours of it. You like the Tales games? Not played a one, actually. I think I own one.
I own two, actually.
Why do you have all those statues?
I own Izilia and Berseria. Those are the two I own, and I've not finished or played more than 2 hours of either.
You really like Kingdom Hearts, huh? Like, I did fake lore on it one time. I was wrong. You really like plushies? Actually. But one of the other things that you could do, actually, like now that you say that, like that's actually something that somebody could do is just like make their room look all nice, snap a picture of it, and then just have that as the background, and then you don't gotta worry at all.
Yeah.
Or you could do that one thing that Ian has always wanted you to do, which was have like the background of like a really nice expensive gaming chair, and then when somebody's like, hey, what kind of gaming chair is that, you just pick up like the desk, like the dining room table chair that you're actually sitting in instead. That's one of my favorite things I've ever seen.
And I think it's super cool because like this allows, like, I wonder what this will do to like streamers buying green screens, because like one of the things it allows you to do is like you're basically renting a green screen to try for free. You're like, because some streamers are unsure, like, do I want to make the move to green screen or do I not? Now you can just try it without having to actually set one up.
Well,
like,
to be fair, I've seen streamers go from the non-green screen phase to like, all right, I need a green screen, and then back to the non-green screen phase.
I go back and forth on what I would want, because I mean, like right now my camera's kind of down a little bit, but like sometimes I like having all of my little things in the background, just because like sometimes people will comment and be like, oh cool, like I see a Persona thing, I see The Last of Us, or I see amiibos, you know, or I see
I think
like,
we had
little bit
a
of the
discussion
Mario.
on this actually. We were like, not having one adds character to you specifically, and then having one is like, oh, you want to look more professional and stuff. But it's like, there's always gonna be the divided like mindset. It's like, oh, I want people to be able to connect with stuff that's in my room or not, and then
faking is right. It's not 100% perfect yet. Like the technology, like in the green screen demos, it's been good. Like it looks really good. Like I'm very impressed. It's not perfected yet for sure. Just like RTX voice, I think, like, where there are still little nicks. It'll take a long time to get there. But I wonder, like, so when I switched from OBS to Slobs, the selling point people gave me was the integration, right? That was really the thing, right? It was easy to do everything, right? Was the selling point that used to be given. But I wonder, will the NVIDIA broadcast software just be sold on, look at all these cool features we have, and all that sort of thing? Or, like, if the features weren't there, how well does the thing actually work? Because, like, there are a lot of streamers who don't want a green screen, and who
they just want the ability to stream, record, or whatever.
They just want to do it like regular, casual. With how many streamers there is out there, that's a large number of people, right? Like that's a sizable percentage of streamers aren't like Twitch partners who like really need every fine detail organized. Like, and like, so taking away all the NVIDIA features, how well does the thing actually work, is the most interesting part of it for me. Like, does it stand on its own as just a broadcast software?
Because like,
and if it does, I'd gladly make the switch.
I don't know this, and I know Rory doesn't because we talked about it earlier. But does anyone chat know if XSplit still exists?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. Yeah.
Because that was another one, but that was a paid model that you had to use. But like, what made XSplit differ from OBS to where it was like they felt the need that you needed to pay for it, and like what other features did it bring that it doesn't have in OBS?
Oh, it's still a paid model. That's interesting.
I wonder how many people use XSplit though, as opposed to like OBS. Transition effects and stuff, but I feel like everything you can get out of XSplit you can get out of Streamlabs.
It might be more performant. It wouldn't be surprised me if XSplit was more performant than Streamlabs, considering that Streamlabs is very, very, very low performance. It's low bar. Although of course paying is also that's also a non-trivial bar. Yeah, I wonder how it is. I apparently, according to the XSplit website, over some 13.5 million creators use XSplit, including all these people I've never heard of.
So Ninja's not on there, is what you're saying.
No. Yeah. If Tyler was using XSplit,
he would have let you know. Yeah, right. He would have been like, "Hey, Rory, you got to switch to XSplit. Like, screw OBS." So yeah, I guess in summary, everybody get ready to buy a new video card. Yes.
Just build a PC.
Yeah, we all literally just bought a PC like a year ago. Just over a year.
You can swap the card out. Ain't no thing.
That's probably the easiest thing to do, is just swapping the card out.
Just
To be fair.
Yeah, I mean,
is there like a market for used cards though? Like if I swapped it out,
Yeah,
I'd be
there
like, yo, who wants this used like 20?
Oh, I got away with used cards for years,
You
my
can get
friend.
a couple hundred for it, you know.
Well,
When
I
I
was
was,
just
like-
like 70, so I mean that's like.
When I was like in
high up
early uni, I was only on like used parts. Like that was like because I was broke.
so I don't think the one that I had. So like, it was like 2 years ago. I was like in the midst of like building my own PC, and I had gotten one part, if I remember right, and I think that was a graphics card, but I can't remember. I definitely could be wrong, but like I definitely, because like my brother had actually come over not that long ago after I had actually he helped me build it. Like he told me where everything like went and everything. But like I think it was after I had built my new one, he was like asking about this one part that I had bought like 2 years ago, because one of his friends, now like this is something that I don't recommend doing, he really just wanted to play games especially because of COVID, you know, like he was finally like, you know what, I want to play some PC games. So I don't know, I think he said he went to like Walmart and actually bought a pre-built PC.
Ooh.
And he at first was like, oh, I just want to play like small indie games and that's it. And then he was like, well, you know what, no, never mind, I actually also want to play Grand Theft Auto 5. And he could not get it to play. And so my brother was like, I want to help him, so do you have that old, like, I think it was an old graphics card? And I was like, yeah, it's here, you can take it, I don't care, I'm not gonna use it. Oh my god, it was like, I don't know what actually ended up happening. I don't think he ever ended up even doing anything with a PC after that. But that's something that I do not recommend. Don't do it, because it never works out unless you're buying a pre-built PC that literally is for gaming, and it's from like, because, excuse me, I think Rory said something about like NZXT doing like
NZXT
pre-built.
They have two models actually. There's the streamer package one, and then there's like the base one.
Yeah, and then you can customize either of them if you want to spend a little more. Like, you
Yeah.
can customize like their, but I mean, I have my own thoughts and opinions on whether that might be worth it for somebody. But
It's still good
but
to
that
just-
will work well. I promise.
Yeah.
It'll work. Yeah.
But like, because my mom did the same thing, right? And she was really disappointed because she tried to actually put a new part in her PC that she had bought like from somewhere. I don't remember where it was. And my brother had told her like, listen, just wait, and I will help you build a PC, but just give me a little while to figure out what to build for you. And then she didn't. She just went and bought a tower, and that was it. And it works okay. It's a computer. That's what it is. You know, it's a computer. It's a desktop computer, and that's it. Like, you can watch movies on it, and you can play some games on it, but it doesn't do much more than that. You know, it's just for surfing the web. And at one point, my mom tried to upgrade one of the parts, and that didn't work at all. And like, she was disappointed, you know, because she like, in retrospect, she was like, I should have waited, and I didn't, because I was impatient. And so like, that's definitely something that I just never recommend doing unless like you're actually getting it from a place that is like for PC gaming.
My dad did literally the exact same thing. He went and bought a pre-built, and then he was like, damn it, this is the worst thing I've ever used in my life. I should have. And then he had to like pay me to get a bunch of parts to actually build him a new PC, which is like, what relative to what he had was like lightning fast. And he's very happy with that, and he's enjoying Fallout.
There's
I'm
a lesson in that.
I'm gonna admit I did have a moment of weakness like before building this PC where I considered getting a pre-built.
Oh yeah, same. Like, what?
Only because I was intimidated by the building process.
Andrew
So, like,
Andrew can tell you the story, but like I was like, yo, I'm just gonna get a pre-built. I don't want to have to build it. Like, it's too much of a hassle. And he was like, no, it's like, it's easy. And I was like, nah, I just rather not. And then I'm so glad I did, because like
But this is the thing, like, Melly, are you also like, in retrospect, would you have, if someone was having that same moment of weakness, like, who was of similar experience to you, what advice would you give them?
I mean, I definitely would encourage them to build one, but I definitely understand why there is a market for that and why people, you know, choose that. But
I
yeah,
was scared,
once you
know?
go through the process of it and come out on the other side, it's like you realize this is so much better.
From somebody that literally, like, the PC that I'm using right now is something that I put together almost all by myself. There was like one or two things that Mac did help me do to show me how to do it initially. But like, I put the processor in and everything, and he even was like, I think I'll put the processor in for you, because just in case I don't want anything to happen, so you can watch how to do it. And I was like, I want to make sure to know what I'm doing. So like, I'm lucky because I not only had Mac, but I also had Rory, and I wish that Rory could have been literally there with us to build it. Hi, Travis.
I was on. Oh, congratulations, Travis. I was on. I was on Discord video call with Morgan during the builds.
Yeah, we like had a table in here and everything, and Rory, like we had just him up on camera, and he was just talking to us while we did it. And I wish he had been here, but I was really scared at first because like you don't know how things are gonna go. You know, both Mac and Rory at one point. Rory, was it the RAM? It was a few pieces that you said you're gonna feel like you're breaking it.
Oh yeah, it's probably the RAM because I felt the same way where I was like, yo, like am I supposed to push the RAM in this hard? And I was like, I think it's gonna break.
There are certain things definitely when if you're putting in Morgan thankfully wasn't using an Intel processor, but if you're using an Intel processor and the pins aren't actually on the bottom of the once you close the like bracket over it, you hear the crunching sound of like the pins going into the CPU, and you're like, oh my god, I fucked up. Like, you know, like sometimes people are really nervous about their RAM. Coolers can be a real pain, especially the AMD Wraith coolers, the new ones that come with the 2700 and 3700. They like you have to push so hard to get the cooler on it. You're like, I'm literally 100% sure that I've broken everything underneath this.
And that's what I was so scared of, you know, because like some of the things, like Mac did have to tell me, like he was like, you got to put more pressure than that. Like you will feel like you're breaking it. Like don't put like all your body weight on it that you are gonna break something. But he
it's
was like,
more than you would think.
Yeah. And it was scary at first. Like I actually I totally agree with Mel that like if you didn't have somebody who could help you with it, like because at least like especially like when like in the building process, because I know Melly like consulted Rory a bunch about like what to get, and I'm sure it could be it's daunting if you don't have somebody there that's either helping you buy something for like part wise. Or
I YOLO'd it off a YouTube video, and I was like,
I was not on a Discord call with Trev when he built that. But I mean, you know, you did good. I mean, I think Trev, what you said is I think a first builder's experience. When you go through by yourself, it takes a long time. Generally,
yeah, it took me like all day, and I was like, is this
answer.
supposed to take this long?
I still take forever. I don't even know how many computers I built this year alone, and I still like. You know, I still take a long time to do it. Like I still take my time.
Especially like it was actually really fun when I was doing it, because at first it's scary because you're like, I don't want to break something. I'm gonna like hold this as best as I can without like doing anything bad to it. But it was fun, like especially though having people that know how to do it, know what the things do so they can explain it to you, but also having people that are patient enough with it too, because like. On a Discord call, I had Rory, who is literally one of the most patient people I've ever met. And then Mac, who is also a fairly patient person, but he also just loves building PCs. And like I had said to him like a million times, thanks so much for coming over and helping me build it. I'm really sorry to make you come over and help me. And every time he was like, no, I had fun. I love building PCs. And it actually made him even want to be like, I think maybe I'll do a new PC sometime soon. Because he just likes doing it. He was like, this is fun. I had a lot of fun doing this. Plus, he was just hanging out, you know, with my brother, which is nice.
I mean, I told my friend, because like I'd built mine, and then you know, he was like, I may do that one day. I was like, yeah, just let me know. I was like, I'm confident enough to know now that like the general process, like even if it's not like the exact pieces I use, like I know the general process. Like yeah, you put either the AMD or the Intel chip in first, and then like you do the cooler, then RAM, and like shit like that.
Yeah, it's generally it's only getting easier too. Like nowadays, like I mean, in the next build I do, which will probably be next August, I'm going to build a new computer.
To replace the one over in London, or
yes, that's exactly right. Yeah. To replace the one in London, yeah, which was my main computer, but now the computer I have here is better. But I'm keeping this one here, like on the island, when I go back to London and building a new one when I get back there.
So you don't get
because that one is
can't read, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
oh my God.
I'm not shipping another computer with UPS. That was a fucking war crime. And so when I do that, it's just gonna be NVMe, right? There's gonna be no SATA SSDs whatsoever. And like Morgan's PC, for instance,
there's gonna be so many less wires you're gonna have to worry about.
Exactly. Like, and they're easier to put in too.
Yeah.
Matt
Like-
even said that too about the M.2, right? Isn't that what it is?
Yeah, I'm not
M.2, yeah, it's an
Yeah.
NVMe drive. You'll hear them used interchange. They're not interchangeable, but you'll hear them both used to describe the same thing. Yeah.
Because that's exactly. I can remember the both of you had said that it's like so much better for cable management.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's no cable that comes because with
it's
an
all
ordinary
on the motherboard.
Yeah, exactly. With an ordinary solid state drive, usually, if most cases have mounting brackets behind the motherboard on the other
And you
side.
have the power one
and-
and then the actual one that like receives and
Yeah,
sends data.
exactly. Yeah, there's a power cable going from the power supply into it, and then there's a SATA cable coming from the SSD onto your SATA ports, and it's like that's two cables that are now zero cables, and you don't have to put anything on a mounting bracket at all. It just it plugs into a PCIe slot on your mother. It just looks like a small
And you just
PCIe
screw it
slot.
down.
That's basically what it is. Yeah, and you just screw it down, and it's like, wow,
Okay,
wasn't it always like this?
Question: When I installed my M.2, it didn't come with like a screw, so I used the one for like the shield that came on the thing. I was like, that's not a bad thing, right?
So the screws don't come with the M.2; they come with the motherboard.
Oh, okay. So then, I assume that's fine. Because
So
mine had like a
basically-
plate that you had to remove in order to put it, and so I just used
Yeah,
that
yeah,
same screw.
that's right.
Because it was
A lot of
obviously
Asus
the same.
is an Asus motherboard, probably.
Yes.
Yeah, so a
I
lot
think
of
the
Asus
Asus
motherboards have them covered in plates.
903
Yeah.
or whatever. Or
Um,
930.
I was actually
And-
gonna say. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you go. You
No.
go. It's okay.
No.
The thing the one of the biggest shocks about building a PC is that nothing comes with screws except the case and motherboard. Everything you need is in the case and the motherboard case. And like nothing else is going to come with a screw. Video card's not coming with any screws. Solid state drive's not coming with any screws. Like everything else is in the case.
Yeah, because they give you a whole bag of stuff, and it's just like, why do you need these? Because in the video I watched, it was like, you only need these screws, and I was like, then why do I have 8,000 other ones? Like, I don't.
yeah. It's for that. It's for things you might install in the future. Let's go ahead, Morgan. You were going to say something.
I was actually going to say one of the other things too about like what that's so nice about building your own PC is that you know what you want to put in it. Because I actually just had a thought too because of my capture card. Because I definitely know somebody who had bought a PC, like just a tower PC. And they were freaking out because they didn't know where they could put their capture card that they had gotten because they thought they didn't have an open PCIe slot. When they were able to take something out that they actually didn't need, it was like if you wanted to have like your tower on Wi-Fi, which why would you want that on Wi-Fi? I suppose if you want to, that's fine.
The
but
video
whatever.
I was watching was like, make sure you buy this Wi-Fi adapter. I was like, hell no, I'm not buying
Like,
this
why would I
Wi-Fi
want
adapter.
my tower on Wi-Fi? I don't.
I was like, bro,
think
I was like,
so.
I spent around 2,000 on this PC, and you're gonna have it run on fucking Wi-Fi. I was like, no, thank you.
But so they were able to take that out and be able to put their internal capture card in there. Like that's something that you always want to watch out for too, because when you're buying just a pre-built, you kind of don't know what's going to be going on there in terms of like, do I have enough slots to be able to have like do I have maybe one open PCIe slot where I could put in a capture card if I wanted it, like for an internal one, because like maybe you already had one or something. Like just that one, and you didn't get like the HD60S that can just plug into an open USB port instead. And then like you spend a bunch of money on this PC and you actually end up not having an open slot to be able to use it in the first place. That's something you always want to watch out for. But when you're doing just an actual build on your own and you know everything that's going to be able to go in there, you can actually just look and figure out like, do I have enough like slots to be able to have this thing in there, which is always good. And I recommend
It's like a control
those ones
thing.
better
It's like,
too.
all right, I know this one in, this one in, and this one in. Like, where's the problem? But like, I don't
Like,
want to. I don't
you
want to like
built
out
everything,
Karen
you know?
here. But like, Karen got a pre-built, and like every time someone asks her like, oh, what's your specs? She was like, oh, I don't know. And it's just like that right there is one of the things where it's like, that's something you should generally know.
faking's right. Like know what
Yeah.
you're buying.
I think agree with faking. Know what you're buying. I think that's a huge part of it. I also think if you're paying to not do something, be sure that the cost you're paying to not do it is really worth what you're not doing. You know what I mean? Like there's some things like I don't want to do. You know, I pay for certain food delivery because I don't want to have to drive to like a neighboring town to get like that Chinese place that I like or something. You know what I mean? Like, I make a mental calculation of my cost versus what I actually save.
As long as the value there for you, then it's like
exactly, yeah. And so I understand the logic behind buying a pre-built. Like I understand it's like, okay, I'm paying essentially to not have to bother with learning how to do this and then putting it together and stuff. But I would say that I think generally that calculation doesn't come up for most people in favor of the pre-built. I think that it's worth it for the amount of extra money it costs and for not knowing what you're buying in terms of what the component parts might be or what they might cost. I think you're best off just taking that extra time. Like, I don't think it's a tremendously useful time-saving measure.
There is an amendment
you're learning
here,
something new, which is always good. I mean, I know you just said that maybe those people don't want to go through having to learn that new skill of like building a PC and being anxious about whether or not they're going to accidentally break something or not do something right. But it is a new skill, you know. It's always good to learn new things.
I think the only amendment to this conversation is don't buy the pre-built unless it's like a laptop, because like laptop building is like completely different than like tower building.
You don't want to have to take out a whole R&D department to have to figure out what to do there. I agree with faking as well. NZXT, if there's one website that is pre-built, right? Like I feel like we almost need 3 categories. Like there's PCs you build yourself, then there's like pre-builts you buy at like a big box store, and then there's like you picked out a custom PC on like a building website. Like that will work well. I promise it'll work well. I still generally advise building your own over doing that for the not just really the cost, because their costs are actually pretty good, but just for the personal satisfaction and learning.
You might be able to find somebody, to like a friend that knows how to do that already, that you could try to convince can you come over to my house and help me build my PC, please?
Yeah.
You know?
Also, Travis is right. If you also want to, if you want to build your own PC, but you don't know how to pick out a parts list, and you don't have any friends who know how to pick out a parts list, like you don't have anyone who you'd be like, hey, what parts list? First of all, you do have someone, you have people right here sitting on this podcast. Please DM me if you want to build a PC. But if you're just like at a total loss for what to do, then the PC Master Race lists are awesome. That you can go into r/PC Master Race, and they have a list of builds. It's a link right near the top. Hello. So that's great.
I love the timing for Lillian. It's always like at the exact same time, like right before we flew up. It's always like
she's like, oh my god, I haven't made my appearance yet. Here is the princess.
And I promise this community, like True Variety, there's plenty of people, there's plenty of builders in this community who will be more than happy to help you if you ever want to build a PC or just get into PC gaming. They'll be
and if you need convincing to like prove that you can do it yourself, there are like 3 right here in this call who did it this year.
First build this year for 3 of the hosts on the show, which is terrific. Yeah, definitely. It's a fun process, and like Melly said, when you come out the other side, you're like, oh wow, like once you take stock of it. We're gonna be winding down now because it's getting near the end. But we're gonna be back next week. Aw.
Now Morgan's not going anywhere for 20 minutes.
How many did the cat build? Lillian is the master PC builder of the podcast.
Okay, I'll admit it. Okay, it wasn't my brother and I. It was Lillian who built the PC. I'm sorry, I lied. She's actually the one that plays all the games too. She's gonna need bread now.
We're gonna do a raid now. And we're gonna be back next week.
Everybody.
Oh yes, everyone. Thank you so much for coming by. We had an absolute blast running over some of the NVIDIA, GamesCom news and streaming news and stuff like that. Everybody's been playing
and
stuff.
Just general discussion. Like, thanks for teraflopping in the chat. Thanks for
yeah,
we appreciate the we should have that. Should be if we ever if we ever unlock a new, do we have all our emote slots filled?
Teraflop.
I can check. We
If
might
we
have
ever
one.
unlock a new emote slot, we should have a teraflop emote. And yeah, that would be fun. Yeah, I don't know what that would be.
Well, what
but it would be
decides a
something.
teraflop? What is that?
A teraflop is the number of trillion floating point calculations a GPU can do in a second. So to say something has 6 teraflops,
Would it just
say
be
it
like
can
a
do 6
loading
trillion
icon?
floating point? Well, I don't know. I'll come up with something for you.
Apparently, faking did something.
What did faking do?
What did you do?
I mean, I'm not
honestly.
trying to out you faking. It's just you mentioned it. The
Yes. Cool.
Oh, RDR.
Oh, is it for
Yeah.
RDR?
oh, okay, yeah. Sorry. The
Join us.
if you want to watch anyone here's streams, there is links down
Yeah,
below.
go down below and click the. They're not banners. They're fuck. What are they called?
Panels?
Yeah, panel. Yeah, I made them. I don't even know what they're called.
They were called. I think they were called banners. I'm not gonna lie. And you can find links there. Morgan has been playing Jenny LeClue, as she's been talking about today. Melly has been playing Dragon Age Inquisition and Doom
And
2016.
if you want an older episode, you can go there. If you want the
Yes, the
Yu-Gi-Oh
YouTube
series, there's that one. And then if you want the overview, the other series that me and Rory do.
That's like a series. The overview series is like a series like analyzing different games or talking about different games.
Yes.
And we delve into some of the history and some of our favorite things about them. There's gonna be a new overview video coming pretty soon. That's in the works right now.
We usually do them every Sunday, and I try to have them posted Sunday, but depending on how long. Because like the last ones we did were like they felt like 10 to 15 minutes to us, and then I was like in editing, I was like, yo, this is 45 fucking minutes. Like
Yeah, they were really long. Yeah, and they did not feel that way. So that's been a really fun series to do. So if you ever want to check any of that stuff out, you can do it.
make sure you,
You can
like, comment,
to the
subscribe,
YouTuber and
smash
whatever in the
that.
world people do on YouTube.
Yeah.
And yeah, okay, so we're gonna get our raid started now.
Okay,
So
I clicked it and it said you cannot raid this channel. I don't know if I just messed up. Isn't there an option to turn what's going off?
It could be, but it's should be that.
That's what I have typed. I almost just banned you because I went up and like went to go click the thing and then it moved.
Wow.
Yeah, it
Thank
says you
you.
cannot raid this
Banned
channel.
podcast host.
Oh, I mean,
Oh,
Does anyone
That's
know? I
weird.
think it's isn't there a setting in the thing that's like block raids from channels you don't follow or whatever?
That could be it. Yeah, they might have a setting turned on where they can get rated by people that don't follow.
I mean, we can
Needless
host this
to say-
person.
needless to say, our raid call is streamers become
Yeah.
raiders.
So instead of raiding, we're just gonna host, and then y'all just bombard them.
Streamers
Yeah.
become posters.
Bear in mind, I am still like, we do read your raid suggestions and bear them in mind for future.
Yeah, we take notes on
We've
them.
already decided on a raid, but we do actually record those. And if you ever suggest like a guest or something like that, that gets recorded in the permanent logbook.
Yeah, so don't think you're like wasting points. They're not. It's
Yeah.
just
I promise we keep our lore here very organized.
yes.
but I actually like Melly's too. Like, do either streamers become raiders or streamers become hosters? That's
Yeah, either way. As long as they know you're coming from us, it's fine.
yeah. And definitely do a /me because it makes
Just
the color
chat
scheme
all
and
Point
color
of
stuff really
clarification. Point of clarification for faking. I am in Newfoundland right now. My apartment, where I officially live in when it's not COVID, is in London, Ontario, not London, England.
Yeah, not
So, yeah,
London, Big
it-
Ben. It's
Canadian
it's
London,
the other
but yes,
London.
yeah, that's where my other computer is and a lot of my possessions. But yes, that is where I live.
All right, so I guess since this is not as
Yeah.
gonna be not as smooth, we say bye now, and then I'll hit host, and then we can.
Oh wow, faking! I didn't know that.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, that was a piece of trivia I was
no.
never informed of.
All right, so
Anyway.
thanks for chilling, guys, and then we'll see you next week.
Later, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Have a good
Bye.
night.
You know what's weird?